Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I wanted to make a guide on pretty much something that can benefit anybody, whether you're at early game, mid game, late game, or even end game, because I see a lot of even end game players doing this. And this is a guide on really how to find the best map to train at for yourself. So I wanted to make a guide on pretty much how to find the best map for you, for your class, because everyone's class is differently, everyone mobs differently, everyone can rotate maps a different way and utilize certain maps to their advantages a different way. So in this video, that's what we're going to go over. So how do you find the best map for your class? It's not really with a guide. Sure, guides will show you, what maps are the most universally good for most classes, but they're not going to show you the map that's best for your class. So how do you do it? Number one, you want to make sure that you're testing the map with a battle analysis. And what kind of battle analysis? Well, you don't want to do a 30-minute or a 1-hour BA because that's just going to take too much time. And you also don't want to do a 15-minute BA because then you have to line up more variables. You have to make sure that you don't get an elite boss to spawn, or you have to make sure that a ruin doesn't spawn. There's a lot of variables that can happen within 15 minutes. So the one that I recommend for everybody to do is a 6-minute BA. And the reason for that is it's much easier to keep everything linear in a shorter time frame, but not too short of a time frame to where there's not enough data being recorded. So a 6-minute is great because you record it, you can multiply the data that you get by 10, and it should give you a pretty linear response in terms of the base amount of EXP that you're getting without any other external variables going on. No ruins, no elite bosses, no emobs, none of that. Just the strict mob count, mob density of the map, and how much EXP, Miso's mob count that you are getting within that 6 minutes, and you can find out what that's going to look like in a complete hour. Now, there's ways to do this and find certain maps without having to just go and click at random maps and go and test your BA. There are certain websites that will actually show you the spawn density, the mob count, the places that the mobs spawn, and the entire layout of the map. So you can kind of picture the map and see how maybe you would want to rotate that map, place your summons in certain areas, and just overall how you would maneuver the map. So you don't have to sit here and go from map to map and just spam 6-minute BAs all day long, because that's probably not going to be too accurate either. You're probably not going to be trying super hard when you do those BAs. So what I recommend is using a certain website that will show you the spawn density and the map layout. And then from there, you can kind of go and find certain maps that look like they're going to be great. So you know the amount of time that you should use in a battle analysis and certain resources to use to help you find maps that are generally going to be good for your class. You want to also make sure that you're keeping all the variables in this test linear. So you want to make sure that there's no ruins being popped, there's no emobs being spawned, there's no elite bosses being spawned. You have the same EXP coupons on, so not having one test where you have a 2x coupon on, and then another test where you have a 2x and an MVP on, and then another test where you have a 2x MVP gold pot and EXP accumulation potion on. You want to make sure that everything is the same. So whether you want to do it with all buffs or with no buffs, that choice is up to you, but make sure that you keep everything linear and the same. The only variable that should ever be changing in this test is the map. Other than that, everything else should be the same. Make sure that nothing else changes, and that's what's going to ensure that you find the best map for you and there's nothing that is inflating the test that you are trying to record. Now, the other thing is you do want to test different rotations on maps. There's some maps that can change how good that they are just off of different rotations, and that can either be one of two things. One, the different rotation helps you kill more mobs, or the different rotation helps you farm in an easier way. So kind of what I mean by that is I'm going to just show a clip real quick of me training on my Adele. I moved Urda Shower from one spot to another, and it made this map extremely easy for me to farm. And if a map is extremely easy for me to farm, it's going to be easier for me to farm longer hours there. So always test different rotations. Don't just look at one person's rotation and say, oh, that's exactly how I have to do it. The same thing goes for maps like LH6. A lot of people would always say put Dark Flare at the top right. I decided I wanted to make the rotation easier for myself, so I put Dark Flare at the bottom right and Urda at the bottom left, and it made the rotation a lot easier for me. So always test different rotations, find what is best for you and what gives you the most efficient results, and then go from there. One thing that's extremely important too is you want to see what the ceiling is for the map. You want to know, what your max ceiling is for the map that you're at. So by doing that, you want to find out what the max mob count is. So this is going to show you, exactly what your max testing limit is. So for example, if you think of a map like LH6 versus Suffering Core 6, Well, you can see that Suffering Core 6 has 2 mobs less than LH6. So by default, LH6 has a higher ceiling than Suffering Core 6, but maybe your class can't completely full clear LH6, but you can full clear Suffering Core 6. So Suffering Core 6 then would be the optimal map for you. So look at that, make sure that you know the max mob count of the map. So then from there, you can plan accordingly and just figure out really what your highest ceiling is going to be and what your max testing limit is going to be on these maps. And then the last thing, and this is one of the most important things, guys, because this is really what determines if a map is quote unquote good or not for EXP, is if the map has high or low burning. Now this burning is going to add an extra variable into your equation, but the way that you're going to find a map has high or lower burning is if it's either a popular or less popular map. I personally try to go to less popular maps. I try not to go to where all the meta maps are, because those tend to have less burning and those will tend to give you less EXP, no matter how good the map is, for the most part. I'll use an example like LH6 versus Mysterious Fog 3. LH6 has more mobs, higher ceiling for mob count, but it had 0 burning, versus a map like Mysterious Fog 3, which had less mobs but had almost 100% burning at all times. Mysterious Fog 3 is going to give you more EXP return per hour than LH6 will, just because of that burning factor. And over time, spread out, that is going to make a big difference in your training. But always make sure you're looking for maps with higher burning, and try to find alternatives. If you can't find a map with high burning, go try to find a map that you haven't really tried before. But with that being said, guys, I think these are all the things that you should definitely look out for when you are trying to find maps that are quote unquote the best for you, because this is really the only way to find a map that is the best for you, is by doing your own test and not looking at somebody else's training guide or somebody else's class guide on certain maps. Do your own testing and figure it out. And I hope that this guide did help you. But yeah, I know these things help me a lot with things like Legion and just training my main in general. And I know for sure they're going to help you guys too. But for now, that is going to wrap up the entire video. I hope that this guide helps you all a ton. And from now, I hope you all are having the most efficient rates possible. But until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy. Peace.